All right, here we are at Chapter 4, and we are talking about multicultural perspectives and diversity issues. This is a very important chapter, because it covers a very important topic or topics. We're going to be exploring what culture is, what cultural diversity is, and different stereotypes, racism. We're going to discuss the LGBT community and how all this plays into our role as a counselor, how we should be working with people. I would say not too long ago, counseling was done kind of the same for everyone, meaning a person's background, their culture, wasn't really taken into accountability when trying to work up a treatment plan or place someone in some specific services. I think that the helping field in general has really improved in that area, and it's something that we're always going to be improving upon as we work with people from all sorts of different backgrounds. What's interesting about working in corrections is that you have a wide gamut of people that come from all kinds of different walks of life. And so it becomes very important to learn how to communicate with people, not just on a simple, friendly, human-to-human contact, but really try to understand where that person has come from and what their experiences have been. So as I've grown in my career, and even starting out, I was very naive to various cultures, and I've been grateful that I've been placed in positions where I've had the opportunity to learn. One of the best ways that I learned was actually working in a few different prisons as an AODA counselor. And so you get to learn a lot about the people that you work with and what types of cultures they come from and how they grew up. And so it becomes important to understand that, because then if you at least seek to understand who that person is on an individual level and where they come from, then they're going to be more open to building a stronger and more positive rapport with you as a helper. So one of the things that we need to take a look at is the ethnicity, which is defined here as the sense of identity that stems from common ancestry, history, nationality, religion, and race. And then taking into account ethnic minority groups as well, group of people who have been singled out for differential and unequal treatment and who regard themselves as objects of collective discrimination. So when we talk about ethnicity and ethnic minority groups, multiculturalism, cultural diversity, we could spend a lot of time on these various topics. The point is that when we get into the relationships with our clients, we need to know who they are, where they come from, and what their story is, because everyone has a unique story, and everyone has different upbringings, have different values, have different morals and beliefs, and so it's about the client. It's about understanding where they are and where they're coming from. All right, and so it's a good idea for newer counselors to go through a cultural diversity type training. In our agency, we do that periodically. Our agency is committed to diversity in not only the workforce, but also in the clients that we serve as well. So it's important, it's crucial, because that's how we help people. Right? And so there's a lot of different areas that we can cover. I just wanted to cover a few as we move through here. Your chapter covers the challenges of reaching diverse client populations. I'm going to take a look at that. Let's see here. There's even differences in between how the Western world, or our country, conducts counseling with Westerners compared to people who are from the Middle East or Eastern cultures. There's a big difference in how their culture is. And so by understanding where they're coming from, what their culture believes, will help us kind of navigate that. All right, individualistic versus collectivistic cultural values, which is kind of what we just discussed. Our Western culture is very individualistic. Right? We emphasize our individual abilities and strengths, and so that's what we tend to focus our counseling on. And then, of course, we get into stereotypes, racism, even unintentional racism. And so it's important for us as counselors and helpers to know, what do we know about different cultures? Are those stereotypes, or are they based in fact? So it's important for us to know that stuff about ourselves before engaging in any type of client treatment. All right, there's a lot of good case studies in this chapter as well. We'll take a look at those. And then there's a section on addressing sexual orientation, working with the LGBT community. Regardless of your belief systems, it's important that we treat everyone with respect and that we listen to everyone and that we try and do our best to help everyone. I know that this specific community has been the target of bullying. There have been many people who have taken their own life out of frustration and just despair of where they're at. And so it's important for us to understand where people in this population have been and what they're struggling with to help them. All right, and so there's quite a lengthy discussion on this topic. And then also we get into the culture of disability, how to work with people with disabilities. It's important to understand how that population kind of fits in with the mold that we're working with, and how to tailor our treatment to them as well. All right. So as we move through the chapter here, lots of good discussion points. It's imperative, I think, especially for those of you that are going into mental health and AODA type counseling, that multicultural training is something that you really need to look into and complete as well. A lot of agencies now, a lot of places require that type of training up front for new employees. And I think it's crucial. I've gone through several of them and continue to go through those usually on an annual basis. And I know that our agency looks into multicultural training for managers and sends managers to those types of trainings quite a bit. So I go to those types of conferences usually several times a year. And it's very eye-opening and it's very intriguing as well, because I take away something new every time I go. So there's always room for improvements for everyone, and it's worth the investment as well, because as you're working with people from various backgrounds and cultures and ethnicities, it's good to understand who they are, where they've come from, so that we can help them move forward with whatever they need help with. All right, so I think I'm going to stop there. Make sure you read the chapter. And you're also going to be reading chapters 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 and lying on the couch. Again, case studies, the discussion board. All right, so if you have any questions, as usual, reach out to me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next learning plan.